let's move on to the next one. Cuomo is back, Andrew Cuomo, but women don't want people to forget about the sexual harassment cases and the fact that he was like using public money to defend himself, I think, in his various sexual harassment cases. But I wonder, like, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, like whether it's just a very small vocal group of people who don't want him to run for mayor of New York, which is why he's back in the news,
Yeah.
or if it's going to impact him more broadly across people who aren't like women who care a lot about this issue. And I think Eric Adams set such a bar that people are like, whatever, all politicians are going to be corrupt in some way or another. But also, he did have 11 women come out and accuse him of sexual harassment. And then it begs the other question, can men change if this has been their way of being and operating and existing in the world with women? Um, yeah, what do you think? Do you think that New Yorkers will care?
I think we have such a sad track record between Adams and de Blasio. And
Yeah.
there's this remembrance of Cuomo as a kind of like a strongman during COVID, which we just got demonetized because I'm an idiot. But I think he's inevitable in New York. Like I think he will be the mayor. And I do think the mayor of New York is in some ways more powerful than the governor of New York. Um, and the reality is the DNC doesn't have a lot of options right now. Like they need somebody they can run for president. It's going to be Newsom, greasy Newsom. Like, I mean, it's, Walls, Tim Wall, like that's not going to happen. Like that's not, Pete, Mayor Pete, maybe hasn't
Mayor
gone
Pete,
well
I
for
think.
him recently, but yeah. Um, and I can't even, I guess, Whitmer, Whitmer would be maybe the best option.
Michigan,
Um,
right?
yeah, yeah, not without our own issues, but probably the best option right now. And I think that they would want Cuomo for this perceived idea that he's like a strong man, like he could go in and fight the like, I presume JD Vance. I don't know who it's going to be, but hopefully it's not Trump again. But
Oh my God.
um,
Or Emperor Elon Musk.
yeah, late Republic at that point, right? We're basically just Rome at that point.
Yes.
Um, so I think he's going to be mayor. Like I really do. And I heard someone who's usually a pretty good advocate for women, and she was like, "Well, but listen, it was hugging stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, hugging stuff is not rape, but you're not
Yeah.
supposed to grope women. Like it's not.
Well, and
It's
I
still
think just the fact that there were so many women, it wasn't just
yeah,
like two women who said he hugged me strangely. It was
11's a
11.
lot.
So,
It's a
but
lot.
I think that it's also, to your point, it's like seemingly more and more difficult to find somebody who doesn't have some sort of problem in their history, even if it's
Yeah,
not sexual harassment. I mean, I think it can be achieved eventually, but I think he just has such name recognition and people don't care about that as much, given you know, it's not like he's been charged with rape or sexual assault. But
yeah.
yeah, I imagine that. I wonder also for the women who did speak out, they're sort of like, was it all like, was it all in vain? Like he's just,
Yeah.
it doesn't
I don't.
matter. But it does matter because it still changed the course of history and like changed the trajectory of it changed like our knowledge of the world. I don't know. Whenever someone is like, well, it doesn't matter because this bad man is back in a place, and it's like, well, it does because you caused like a ruffle in the reality that we all live in to
Yeah.
like change our perceptions of things. So
I always think it matters. Yeah, I think it matters. I mean, they took him out of power And frankly, they put a woman in power who probably would not have been a viable candidate for governor, but for what happened to Cuomo. And she's not the worst. She's doing a good job. So that matters in a variety of ways, So that there's that. Um, I also don't think Cuomo did a good job in New York. Like
Mm,
the state was fairly destitute upon his exit and like had huge boondoggle projects for like infrastructure that didn't really get built to code. And like just a lot of you look at it, you're like, why are we excited about this guy? Like it didn't go well to some extent, but I guess it's not how we think. I don't know.
right, right. It's so hard to. It's funny. I was having a conversation last night about presidents and like presidents in my lifetime, and I think it was my dad. He asked me like, what, who is your favorite president? And I was like, I don't even think about it in those terms anymore. Like I can't lionize or like put someone on a pedestal. I certainly like Obama and Biden and like even like Reagan, not that I was alive during Reagan, but like these people are much, much better than Trump. Like Trump is so horrific that
Yeah.
it's that's a whole different level. But I'm like, I can't, there's no president or politician I look at and I'm like, this person did an amazing job. And I feel, and it's a hard job. I don't envy them, but it's, yeah, I think an older version of me would have been like, yeah, I'm like, I look up to so and so in public office. And
Yeah.
I'm just not sure. The more you peel back, the more there is to like to to basically say, oh, here's what they could have done. But then was it their fault because the systems are in place that like incentivize certain
I don't know.
things? So it's yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um,
I still view I think we've lived through active war criminals as president. Like
yeah.
Bush, Cheney, like I think they're war criminals. Like I think they
Mhm.
engaged in ethnic cleansing and
Yep.
for just cash, essentially.
Yeah.
And
Resources.
yeah, exactly. And so it's almost like a race to the bottom for me in terms of the presidents of my lifetime. Also, did you've seen the Gloria Allred drama in the Wall Street Journal this week?
Yes. Remember I told you about this a couple of months or weeks
Yes,
ago. Yeah.
you did. Yeah. Um, so that's interesting to watch. But she released a statement, and in her statement, she was like, and they don't even mention that I received an award from President Reagan for what I did for women. And it's like, oh, I don't think that's the flex you think it is. Like, that's not, first off, that was 86. But second off, Reagan? Like, that's like, you've done a lot of things. And she had other flexes too. Like, she had a really nice, she's like, listen, I won my clients $1 billion. And I was like, that's the yes, you won victims $1 billion with a B, right? Like that's a big deal. That's huge. Getting an award from President Reagan or like the women's attorneys of LA, she like listed off all these awards and it was like some of these charities sound fake. Like
Yeah.
these don't even sound like real organizations. But the thing with Reagan, I was just like, that's surprising. Like that to me, I don't know. Not that I like
Totally.
think Reagan's the worst human being in the world, but like what a surprising thing for to
He's
be
not exactly
referenced.
the person you invoke to like clear your name among progressive women's communities.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, that's the best way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Do you have any more dirt on the Gloria Allred thing? I'm trying not to comment on it because
Mm.
I don't know.
Well, so I've known about the story's existence for a while, and I helped connect the journalist to a few of her sources. And it was interesting because for the last year, and I stopped a couple months ago, but I was in touch with this writer at the New Yorker
Ooh.
named Rachel Aviv because I was really interested in this idea that was in my newsletter this past week, which we talked about on last week's episode about people signing non-disclosure agreements not being in the right mind.
Yeah.
And so I thought that this New Yorker journalist, her 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 area of expertise is like the psychiatric system. And I
Oh.
thought she would be very interested in like learning more about this concept of under duress and like defining it, redefining it. So she kept turning me down she was like, yeah, I don't, it's interesting, but I don't have time. Like,
Okay.
and I've done all this research, of course, and I sent her some of it. and we haven't spoken in like 2 or 3 months. The day after the Wall Street Journal article came out, she wrote me and she was like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. Also, I just looked you up. Like, I'm sorry I haven't been more like forthcoming. Like, I'm really interested in this story now." But I just thought it was funny that the after like post Wall Street Journal, she was like, "Oh, this is a thing," and I'm like, "Yes, it's been
Yeah.
a thing for a while." But let's see other information about that story. I mean, she I think there are more people who weren't even included in that article. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of the people in that article are looking to pursue some sort of like legal malpractice against her. But it's hard because what they signed releases Allred and her team from legal action from the client. And I'm sure you have that too, and you have to have that to protect yourself to some extent. But I just think that there was one line from that article that really stuck with me where she was like, just get it together or something like that, or like put like, and it's like, what, how do you, that to me, I understand if you're frustrated in this line of work, and like there have been moments where I'm like really frustrated when I'm working with someone, but I can't imagine ever being like angrily like, get it together. Like that's just, I don't know, like have some emotional regulation to be able to talk to somebody in a way that's because otherwise articles.
And listen, the whole Gloria story makes me, and it's obviously it's allegations, right? I'm not saying what was or was not said.
Right.
I guess some of the stuff I can see a little bit. Like I've been in mediations where like I'll pull the client out and be like, hey, so just you're going through a lot right now, but
Yeah.
they're getting the impression that you can't testify, and that is going to force the valuation of this claim down for you. And you told me my goal is win you as many dollars as humanly possible. So like
Right.
I'm not saying you can't be upset, but I am saying like currently you're displaying an inability to carry on, which will embolden them. And we need to like have a conversation about this. Do you want to go take a walk? I can stay here and keep negotiating. Like, how do you want to do this? And I'm not aggressive, but I think part of why I'm not aggressive is I'm a male. So and you know, there's issues there. Like
Mhm.
I can't be walking around and be like, just get it together. You know, like
Right.
and
Right.
Gloria as a woman might feel comfortable doing that. And
That's true.
you know, I don't know if I'm exempted out just by virtue of being twice the size of most of my clients. And, you know, I don't engage in those
Yeah.
things, but it's not because I don't think they would be useful sometimes. Like I've definitely, excuse me, pulled people aside and been like, hey, you need to go spend like half an hour in the bathroom. Like
Yeah.
this is not currently conducive to what your stated goals are. And I don't I can't put you back together because that's not what I do. But like
Totally.
in this moment, you're harming your goals and you hired me to reach your goals. So like we have to talk about this. And those conversations are super hard because you're not there to take care of the person. You're there to do what they told you to do. And
Yeah.
doing that will harm them, you know, in the short
Yeah.
term. They'll get better in the long term. They'll heal and they'll have resources if you do everything correctly and runway to heal and look for jobs and rebuild their life and their career. But there's no doubt. I mean,
And I also think that I mean, I've heard, and tell me if you think this is too much of a generalization, but that sometimes older female lawyers had to like elbow their way through so many things that they feel like they're like, well, I basically became a man in a lot of my demeanor to get to where I got in this field, and I had to become this like ruthless sort of negotiator or person in this industry, and that younger women like get it together, like like you need to stop crying and like chin up and like deal with it. But what they're not realizing is that we're in a different cultural moment where like mental health and like feeling your feelings and feeling pain is something that a lot of younger women are realizing is actually better for you, like it's like healthier for you, not to a
yeah,
crazy degree, not that you're like crying all the time, but like I think there's a younger generation that doesn't adhere to the idea that you just like are stoic and respond to things by pushing down your emotions. And I think maybe that older generation of women had to do that. So they feel like, and I've heard about this, and I'm sure you've seen this so many times with pregnancy discrimination cases,
Yeah.
where the women are actually the ones who are like, hey, I had a really difficult pregnancy and I didn't complain. So like,
Yeah.
why are you complaining? So I wonder if that's a piece of it too.
So in my industry, I mean, we call them first waivers. The women who first entered litigation, because there were women attorneys at all times in this country's history.
Yes.
Um, but litigation attorneys very much not. And then so you have people like Gloria, who may or may not have been like a true first waiver, but like was pretty damn close. And I'll have conversations with people like, oh, I'm going to meet with so and so. I'm like, and they're like, yeah, I think we're gonna get this done. She's like really motivated to get it done. And I'm like, yes, she's the first waiver. She's not motivated to get it done. She's gonna eat you alive if you go in there like that. Like, this is not what you think it is. This is a tactic.
Mm-hmm.
Everything with her is a tactic, and that is her job. That is correct. That is good that she does that. But like, you need to understand who you're dealing with. This is not Bob, who's like a lumbering jackass who's gonna like overpay you because he doesn't want to read the discovery. This is someone who like literally had to be the best of the best to just make junior partner. And she didn't just make junior partner. She runs the firm. She will stab you if it serves her purposes, and she'll spit on you while you're on the ground. And I respect her for that. Like that is correct. That is her job in many ways, right? And you'll have these. I'm thinking of a specific person who trains a woman who trains other litigators,
Mm-hmm.
who will reference God, that baseball movie League of Our Own.
Oh
She'll
yeah.
the people she's training will like cry, which is a weird that's very alien to most litigators, that someone would cry in the workplace. Like, all of us are kind of predisposed to not do that because we chose high conflict industry. But she'll be like, there's no crying in baseball. And people will bring claims against her for that. And it's just
Wow.
like, that was a gendered reference. And like, this woman's responses, I guess, but I the, the guys don't cry. So like, and that's also not true now. Guys cry
Yeah.
now. We've
Yes. I've
it's been
seen it.
happening more and more. It's very
I've seen it.
yeah. Having a litigator, like an experienced litigator, just burst out weeping in the workplace is like, everyone panics. Like, it's just like everyone's like, oh my God, are you dying? What's happening? Like, we don't know
Yeah.
how to deal with it, But yeah, I don't know.
Which is
I looked up to Gloria a
yeah.
lot. And
And
this,
it's not to
yeah,
say she, like you said, she's won $1 billion+ for her clients. It's not to say that she hasn't also done good things. But then
yeah,
you get so it's interesting. I'm working on a piece now involving this philanthropist, and there are parts of my story where he is portrayed neutrally, somewhat positively, and then somewhat negatively, but he's not the fixture of the piece at all. It's just like a couple of sections, and I had to go to him for comment, and he's been emailing and emailing and emailing me about his awards, about his basically kind of what Gloria did when she put out her statement, where she was like,
yeah.
I got this
Her
award.
8-page statement.
Oh my God. But and it's like, that's not the point, people. Like yes, you've done, we know like what you have done, but at a certain point there's like, you are a fallible person, and yes, you've given a lot of your life to something, and yes, I understand the very human impulse to want to defend yourself, but um you winning this award or giving money to this thing to help people is not going to negate other things that have happened, like with you, and I think they almost want, they're like, well, all of the good should negate any possible bad. And that's an interesting thing to hear.
Yeah, I mean, that's hard. Whenever people try to cancel me, which happens every other year at this point, I kind of just take the stance of like, yeah, I never said I wasn't a monster. I just said I was a monster you could hire. Like, I could be your monster, And it's just like, I'm not gonna fool. I'm not like a saint over here, Like, it is what it is. I might be useful to you. I might do a very good job helping you, and I'm very good for my clients. But like, I don't need to pretend to be a saint. Like I'm not, that's not the gig. And I don't understand. You don't get to be a billionaire by being a saint. Like does nobody like looks at a billionaire like, oh, you've been dealing fairly with the public for a long time. That's not what happens.
Yeah,
That's not how you get there, right?
right.
So why is he pretending?
Yeah.
To some extent. I don't know if he is. Maybe he's an amazing guy. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I don't know who it is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like there are people in the world who would definitely be interested in can't like canceling me and saying things about me, but I'm like, fine, like say what you like. Like I don't know. I just wouldn't like I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily want to muzzle them. I always think that that's worse. And also I think that I don't know. I think with Gloria, she just has so much power in this space. Like she has so much power, and that's why the Wall Street Journal wanted to write the piece. Um,
Yeah. Also, just the dismount on the story. You spend more time hanging out with millionaires than literal hedge bros, like hedge fund bros, than I know. Like, it's very
but
fascinating,
I'm
very
scared of them.
interesting.
I've stopped. I'm scared of them. They really scare me. The more I know about them, this is what my fiction writing will be about, and my book. The book's getting very close, by the way. My
Oh
nonfiction
yeah.
book.
Wait,
Yes.
the book's what?
To a publisher buying it. It's
Ooh.
been a crazy like 9-month process. But anyway, I know a lot about them because I have had this exposure. And I don't think that they're all bad people. I think there's a lot of
Sure.
nuance there.
Yeah.
But in a dating capacity, they sometimes scare me because they are very possessive. Big shocker.
I could see that.
Yeah. Um, so I feel like I had enough of those where I was just like, I'm good on that. I know what I'm good. I know the psychology. I'm good.
Yeah. I believe that. I definitely believe
Okay.
that. All right.
Should we talk
Last.
about, let's see, CVS? This is actually seemingly good news. CVS is the first US company to be named a menopause friendly workplace.
Love it.
Great.
Potentially.
I actually don't know what that means. I think they're accredited where an independent panel analyzes factors across a company's culture to support women during midlife at work. Have you ever had like a menopause case or a menopause related case?
So generally, unless there's like an extended medical condition, perimenopause and menopause are not considered disabilities under federal law. There's some case law in some jurisdictions where it might be, but generally you need like some kind of exaggeration, some additional symptom, some additional condition tangential to the menopause for it to be a disability and get accommodations. I had assumed when I saw the headline of the story that they were going to grant accommodations for menopause and perimenopause, which I think would be important because I mean, listen, I don't know what menopause or perimenopause feels like, but it sounds hard. Sounds like it's a hard day to get up, go to work, make decisions, not scream at people, not like be in pain or be like hot or cold or whatever it is. And just like, there's no question your decision making capacity would be impacted, right? If your whole job is making decisions, which a lot of people at that age, their job is making decisions, like this is a good idea. You need an accommodation,
Mhm.
let us know what you need. And that would be the smart move. Like if I was experiencing heavy emotional, hormone driven turmoil and pain, I would want to take the day and not
Yeah.
make a decision that day. And having that freedom to take the day would then be good for the company and the employer because they benefit because you come in the next day when you're feeling better potentially and because I don't think it's a constant. How ignorant am I right now, right? But and that person decides like I'm good today, I'm not good today. That seems smart to me. It seems obvious, but we don't bring the cases.
I think so too. I also wonder if it limits age discrimination cases from being brought. Do
Oh,
you think those two things could be interconnected?
I have never seen I've never seen an allegation of a termination over menopause.
Interesting.
that I can recall.
Yeah.
I've had age claims and gender claims where like jokes about menopause were made, and like a lot of hot flash jokes, like
Yeah.
a lot of hot flash jokes. People throwing towels at women, stuff like that. Like you're sweating like a pig, you're going through a hot flash, like stuff like that. Like I can remember cases like
That
that.
is so bizarre.
Um,
That is
there's a
very
lot
bizarre.
of there's a lot of men who really, really hate aggressive women, and instantly it's every guy that you ever talk to. I don't know if guys express this to you, but a lot of guys will just be like, yeah, we broke up. That bitch was crazy. And it's just like, or you just didn't agree, like you just didn't agree. Like you, and that's okay. You can part ways. That's perfectly fine. She wasn't crazy any more crazy than you or I. Like she just doesn't see the world way you see it. And like it wasn't working out. So you guys stopped dating. But like a lot of guys like can't do that. They like have like this aggression towards women where it's like, she didn't do what I wanted, so she's fucking crazy. And you're like, okay. I mean, that's
Yeah.
gonna limit it's gonna limit your options, man. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing here? But you see a lot of that with like women in their 40s who are now powerful in the workplace, 40s and 50s.
Right.
And you get a lot of men being like, she's losing it. She's crazy. She's like, and then you'll get these hot flash references and like these like attempts to deride and undermine her, um, because she is powerful. And I don't think
Mhm.
some men like that. I
Yeah,
don't know.
absolutely. I mean, I think that I agree with you that it seems that it makes sense that you would want someone feeling well and like you would give them the day off if they were feeling unwell and then they'll get through it. Like it comes in waves. I this from what I have heard. Um but but yeah, I always like wonder with these stories. I'm like, what does this actually mean? Is this just a press release that's reprinted? Those like best
Yeah.
workplaces in the world lists. And then it turns out that like the best workplaces in the world are like places of terror.
Places of terror.
Terror, yes.
Oh,
I
tell me more about that.
well, I remember this one workplace. This was one of the very first stories I worked on. It was a tech startup, and they were consistently getting like best place to work in lists that are
But
essentially
those are
pay
pay
to
to play,
play.
aren't they? Those are
Yeah,
all
pay
just
to play
purchase.
lists.
Yeah.
Um, so I always wonder. Yeah, and then I heard from the employees that the CEO was just like a monster. Not in the sense you define yourself as a monster, then I don't even know. He was like a vampire, like crazy beast character. Just from what I was hearing and how he brought an axe to work once.
Oh,
Like that was fun.
that's
Um,
interesting.
yeah, so like kind of jokingly, but also it was very Elon Musk with like the chainsaw
Yeah.
vibe.
Yeah.
Um,
And the
and this
flamethrower.
but they were on all these lists as best place to work. So with this menopause story, I wonder, I'm sure they are doing something of sorts, which is great,
Yeah.
but we'll see how that actually is rolled out. But it's good that like there are different groups of people, whether it's hair or menopause or like there are efforts where the world is trying to be more inclusive in some ways.
Yeah. I do think so. One of the tragedies of like the rollback of DEI
Yeah.
is like this notion that, well, now people don't care about diversity. But if the rollback of DEI was replaced with tangible benefits,
Hmm.
like real accommodations, actual respect, like understand, like there's no question you can do DEI better.
Hmm.
I don't think the current system of like throwing money at somewhat fake programs in corporate America was like gonna get it done. So like this would be like these kind of initiatives, if they're real, if it was really like, hey, we're gonna extend the reasonable accommodation dialogue to menopause
Right.
so that we can do right by you and so you can have a longer, healthier, happier career with us. Everybody wins. Like that's amazing, right? And the hair discrimination story. If you're in a part of the country where hair discrimination is not actually protected and you're sad to see DEI go, guess what? In your company, you can roll out like, hey, all natural hairstyle, all traditional natural hairstyles protected within this company. We have a policy now. You don't need a law to do the right thing. And it's just like those tangible realities would matter more than hiring a DEI expert who is going to sit in an office, pull 300K a year, and maybe not do anything.
Yeah.
Like that. I would not be sad to see this tragedy replaced with real tangible benefits that actually help.
Mhm.
That would actually make me happy. So, listen, if the menopause thing with CVS is real, can we applaud them? I sue CVS too much to applaud them, but
Yes.
yeah, it is what it is. All right, we have 6 minutes left. What's on the Substack this week?
Ooh, so I'm thinking I want to write potentially about Sarah Wynne Williams and what's happening with the book and the non-disparagement case. So we will see if she gets back to me. And then if not, there's a story, I can't share too much until it's out,
Ooh,
but it's
ooh.
a Boeing scoop.
Ari, stop writing about Boeing. This is not. There's no longer any billionaires to protect you. I'm just kidding. That was no more private armies, Ari. Come on now. Um, okay,
Vince, I'll
that's
send
brave.
you can have access to my Lioness email in case I go missing.
Oh God,
Um,
just putting me on the
you,
chopping block. Don't say that on the. I don't want people knowing that. I have nothing. I have nothing. Um, all
I'm
right, so
weirdly not. I'm in this phase of like I'm not scared. I don't know. I feel like when you put out that energy into the world of like it's pretty, I mean, and maybe it's destructive. I don't know. But I've been through waves of anxiety in my life. But I'm the last couple of months and I've been working on like pretty difficult stories and involving high profile things.
yeah,
I'm like, I'm just not if something happens, I mean, I don't know. I can't control that. And I think I'll be okay. I think I'll be fine.
this is you remind me of me in my youth when
In
I
your
was
youth,
like, yeah, in my youth, when I'd be like, oh, you get rich or die trying, just like the bard said, like we're gonna make it happen either way, like no matter what. And then in my old age, I guess now, um, I had a couple of experiences where I'm like, I don't know how much I feel that way anymore. Like I recently had to
yeah.
hire like a guard,
Oh my
but also
gosh.
not for me. Well, we we do have a retired special forces gentleman who oversees the farm. So there's some like some level of like preparation that goes on. I get my fair share. Probably fewer than you, but I get my fair share of threats. But I recently hired a guard, like a really well-known guard who had been a guard for like a lot of musicians over the years to like protect a client. And the client was like ditching the guard. And I was just
Really?
like, yeah, I was like, what are we doing here? Like he doesn't care what you do. Like that's the whole point, is like the reason we hired him is like discretion, like he
Yeah.
was, um and the client just was like, yeah, it's fine. I was like, well, but it's not. Like you were terrified 2 days ago, nothing has changed. Why are we slipping the guard? Also, why am I paying for the guard that you're ditching? Like it's just this weird thing. um and it's just certain times a day, so brave. Other times a day, I want the guard, I want him right outside my door, and it's like,
No, I
okay.
understand that. I think for me, it's not that I don't know. Do you think I'm in my youth? I'll be 32 in 2 weeks. And I've like experienced a lot of stuff that should make me feel, and I was scared at the time, but I didn't want to live in that brain of like being scared of something that could or could not happen. And look, if it gets to a point where I do something and like I'm actually being threatened or like I'm doxxed or something, yeah, I wouldn't be crazy about it. I would take the proper like steps. Um, like with your like if I were being stalked, like
Yeah,
your situation. Um, and I think a lot of people online, they're if they're like, I'm gonna come find you, or so and so is gonna come find you. With my first TikTok that went viral, they were like, so and so is gonna come find you, and I was like, no, he's not. Like
Yeah.
he's enjoying his life as a rich person on his yacht. Like, what, he's gonna like put that at risk to hunt me down and
No
go to
way.
jail because it would come out. You know, like
Yeah.
I just don't see that happening. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe it's a delusional brain space to be in, but I'm like also happy. I feel like I'm grounded enough.
I feel like 32 is fairly young, although I will say I think I
Yeah,
had my first midlife crisis at 32. So,
really.
oh,
Maybe
easily, yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Um, we'll see. But I think that with Boeing, I think, yeah, I'm not that afraid. There are two subjects that I would be afraid of involving Mexico and the cartels, and probably wouldn't want to be in Russia right now. Those are two
Yeah.
things where I'm like, yeah, I'd be afraid.
I'm friends with a gentleman who represented El Chapo,
Ooh.
and there's a lot of considerations in making that choice to like, because it's very obviously very amazing for your career if you're a criminal attorney, but also, goddamn, like what if you don't do a good job? God help you. Or if you do too good a job and somebody else doesn't care, somebody didn't really want Mr. Chapo to walk free, like could be
Yeah.
unhappy with you. It's just like, how do you not? It's one of those things. And it was like it was interesting watching him do the calculus of like, I'm pretty big now, but I'd be huge if I did this. And I want that, but you know, there's risks. And it's one of those things where you're like, the the person just decides how brave they are in that moment. Like you actually find out, you're like, turns out I'm a lunatic and I'm just gonna do this no matter what. Or turns out, right, like turns out like not worth. Like I make a lot of money, I don't need more money. I'm good, And for me, the answer was always like, we're gonna do it. And now today, I haven't found the organization yet that I'm afraid of, but like it probably exists now, you know?
Mm, interesting.
There's And I think part of it's just like I didn't have anything to lose before. Like I used to joke with people, be like, I'm afraid to fly. I'm like, what's so great about your life that you're like worried about dying, But like, which is not, not a great way to treat people.
Yeah.
But that was my perspective on my life. Like, what's so great about my life that I wouldn't just go down swinging. Um, and now I'm like, I don't know, I got a lot to lose, like there's like
Yeah.
some mentality like that. And it's like I feel it creeping up on me. And I'm like, is this old age? What is this?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
you start to think about your mortality and what you enjoy about living as well.
And I do enjoy living,
I really
like
do
that's the
too, but that's
problem.
the
Yeah.
crazy thing. I really do too. Like, I'm very happy to be alive.
I'm always
But
so shocked. People are like, life is just misery. And I'm like, are you okay? Like, it's not. Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of really great things. Food's pretty sick. Have you had
yeah,
water? Clean
yeah.
water? Like, it's so good. Like,
I know, like the simple pleasures.
have you slept in the afternoon in the sun? It's sick. Like, and they're like, no, life is horrible. I'm like, yeah, is it? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, we're over. All right, everybody go to the Substack. It will be linked below. Ari, any closing comments?
No, just I'll see you next week. This
Yeah,
was fun.
I will be in Mexico. You will be returned.
Yes.
Everybody, like, subscribe, comment down below. Go to that Substack. I think there is very exciting stuff coming about Boeing. So this may be the last time you see Ari. No, kidding, kidding. I don't put that in the world. Take care, everybody. Have a good
Bye.
weekend. Bye.